The reason that we're here is because ProveIt was an overwhelming success, and it showed that people want to see results. Stop trying to sell to me. I don't care about features and benefits. I care about the solutions to problems. And I have lots of problems, and I hope you have lots of solutions. And Kanoa is going to go through a bunch of them right now. All right, with that, I'll chime in at some point later, but
I'm looking forward to it.
Turning it over to you guys. Thank you. Welcome, Kanoa, guys.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for coming today. I'm Jason. This is Sam. We are Kanoa, along with a few other people who have come to this place. I'm going to say here, there was a big shout out by Walker this morning at the Opto 22. So I appreciate that. Opto 22, ProveIt session was fantastic. So was a Flow one. I feel somewhat woefully unprepared for this because I didn't even think I was going to be up here. Today, this is Sam's show. He's the one who's well prepared. But he did say, as I was driving over here, you want to get up, you probably want to say a few words. So that's what I'm going to do. So why are we here? What are we doing on stage? We're going to prove it. Prove what? That our software works? Well, we build modules and we plug into Ignition. It's a proven SCADA RAID platform. So enough said about that. But our modules that we built, we don't just sell them. We use them. We use them every day. Our Kanoa Ops, our Kanoa Quality, our Kanoa Trace, we use them alongside systems integrators and end users, the clients, to provide solutions to the problems that they're trying to fix. So I would say, yeah, we prove it. We prove it every day. But at the end of the day, the actual challenge that we really face here is not proving that our software works or that we can prove that we can fix the solution. It's more about the fact that we have to prove it has value. Because MES is a strange breed. We know we talk about it's got a foot in IT, it's got a foot in OT, and software by itself is not going to give a company value. There's change management, there's resistance to change, there's siloed organizations, data, and if it's a company will not just get value just by implementing software. So our challenge has always been, or our focus is when we work with these companies, is to ensure that we get quick wins. We look to see, we're going to run this in an agile. No project should take 6 months or a year before any value gets out. What are the quick wins? If that's connecting data sources, Ignition, to an ERP system, we can provide a bill of materials, production orders to operators who didn't have that access to that information. That's a quick win. Quick wins allow us to get excitement through a company. It drives a continuation of a project. Now, I'm sure I had more to say, but I'm going to turn it over to Sam because he ran through it yesterday, and there was no way he stayed in under half an hour. So he's going to be speaking really quick.
I speak fast anyways, so get ready, everybody. No,
Yeah.
Thanks a lot, Jason. Appreciate that.
And with that, I'm going to exit stage left. I'll be down here and back for questions and answers.
I'll miss you dearly.
All right, take care.
Okay. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Walker. Thanks to the ProveIt team and ICC. It is really exciting to be here in this new era of the Inductive Community Conference. So, as Jason said, I'm Sam Russem, and I'm going to walk you through my journey of how we got Kanoa MES connected to the virtual factory in the UNS, how we established a baseline for productivity, and then how we used the data we were seeing to identify a problem and make new tools within Kanoa and Ignition to solve it. So we're going to start simple, using the tools that Kanoa is going to give us out of the box, and I'm going to show you how then we can use the power of Ignition to extend Kanoa for new use cases. Before I jump into the demo, I do have a little bit of a background on who we are at Kanoa and what you're going to be seeing today. Kanoa is proud to be a gold provider in the new Ignition technology ecosystem, and everything that we do is built entirely on Ignition. So when we talk about Kanoa MES, we mean a complete Ignition-based MES solution. It's a module, it is a database, and it's an application. So here's how that works. When you go and install Kanoa MES in your Ignition gateway, we are going to automatically set up our Kanoa core database on your Microsoft SQL Server. We are going to deploy the Ignition application, giving you something like 400 new system functions within your Ignition environment to be exchanging data to and from that database. And we are going to give you our set of Kanoa app projects. This gives you a starting point on day one, a fully functioning application where you can configure and do the everyday management of your new MES system. Under the hood, again, we are adding those 400 system functions within that Ignition environment. So for you all developers, right, we are just essentially an MES platform within the Ignition you all already know and love. There are just all these new ways that you can say, make a new asset or get this downtime data, all these MES functions that we're adding in. While we are delivered as a single module, we do have 4 different solutions, and I'm going to highlight each of these in the demo today. So we have Kanoa Core, which is our foundation. Things like, this is included with any other module you get. It includes security, our language supports, dashboarding, things like that. Kanoa Ops is our operations management platform. It manages things like OEE and downtime, production counts, and work order management and scheduling. Kanoa Trace goes on top of that to give you additional genealogy and material flow. And Kanoa Quality is our form creation and dispatching engine and has tools like SPC to help you analyze all your data. So our first step in the ProveIt mission is to get all of these solutions connected to the virtual factory and providing some kind of data. And let's take a look at the infrastructure that we used and how we did that. So we started by reserving one of our Kanoa containers. We have a series of containers up in the cloud. We're using them for different demos or trainings or things like that all the time. So we reserved one of those. We installed the Kanoa dependencies, the BIJC calendar component, which we do include with Kanoa, and the Apex charts. Thank you very much, Travis, if you're here. Then we install the Kanoa module, which does automatically set up that SQL database, and it deploys the Kanoa app projects. Finally, for ProveIt, we do install the CirrusLink MQTT engine so that we can talk to the UNS. I am now running a prospective client here at the Level Up conference, and that is the entirety of the architecture. It really doesn't get much simpler than that. So I would say the total time for preparing a container, getting everything installed, getting all of this set up, under an hour. And now we're on to start to configure this and start to figure out our asset hierarchy. And for that, I will switch into our Kanoa application. So here's our homepage, giving us a little overview of all of the assets currently in the system. And let's take a closer look at how we did that asset configuration step. I'm going to go into our configuration, ops, assets. The ProveIt team actually gave us the structure for the virtual factory. So you can see I have the Dallas plant with my different presses and slitters. As I click into each of these, I am OEE enabling specific assets. And when we do that, we're saying, this is an asset I want to be able to run production on and get counts and track downtime and things like that. We usually use about 3 different data points per asset in Kanoa, 2 counters and a state. But it was a little complicated to find out exactly what my counters and my states were within the ProveIt factory. So we threw everything into the historian, like any good systems integration project works. And we start to trend all of the data. And I go and start peeling through it to figure out what's a good in feed, what's a good out feed, things like that. So based on that data, we were able to find some points for all of our assets and start tracking this all in Kanoa Ops. I'll also mention, so that as we check that OEE-enabled checkbox, we end up automatically deploying our UDT into the Ignition Designer with the proper folder hierarchy, so you can easily find the asset that you just made and start wiring in all your points. Now, as I start to wire in this data from the virtual factory, we notice something a little unique. Let me go back to my presentation to show you. Here's an example of that UDT and a couple of those points that I was mapping. And one of the things we found about the virtual factory is that most of the assets were already aware of the item and the work order they were running. This site probably has an MES already. And here I am trying to put an MES on top of it too. So that's okay. A lot of times within Kanoa, we're going to use our Kanoa scheduling tools to manage our work orders and our schedules. Here, we just have that data from the plant already, and that's okay. We can just consume that in Kanoa. We made a slight change to some of our tag scripts so that as we saw changes to these tags, essentially the same functions we would throw by our scheduler, we're just throwing on those tag change events now. So I'm consuming the scheduled data from the plant. Why is this important? Because at Kanoa, we really want to try to meet you where you are at. If you have those 3 data points for ops, we can configure it that way. If you have more data, we want to consume that and make it used and useful. You do not need to rip and replace your existing systems to go ahead and use Kanoa. It is extremely flexible and ready to accommodate what you need. So I get all of this data. Let's see what these actual runs are looking like. I'm going to go back home. I'm going to go into press run 105. And as we run through these different cycles in Kanoa, a lot of them are represented here in these run reviews. And this turns out to be a really great data validation check. I'll make that a little bigger for you. So you can see one thing that I am doing a little bit different is I'm appending a sequence number. So every time the simulation cycles through, we're starting a new order. And this turns out to be really good data validation, doesn't it? Every single run is exactly the same. I count 47,000 in, 44,000 out. It lasts 70.2 or 3 minutes. I get the same downtimes. They happen at the same intervals. This is a great validation that, OK, we're connected. We're getting this data in correctly. This is all looking pretty good. So now I have ops. We're tracking all of our work orders, our items, our production counts. Time to get into some of these other modules. And we're going to start with trace. So on the laminator, we're looking at this data. We see some different serial numbers coming in on a winder and an unwinder spindle. That sounds like good traceability data to me. I'll click into that laminator. And you'll see that we start tracking a live lot operation now as this asset is running. Every single time we start a new order, I start a new laminate operation. Every time those spindle numbers are changing, I'm marking different serial numbers as inputs or outputs, and we are starting to establish traceability here on this line. I can also even click on these to get a little bit more detail on each of the ins and outs of all of these different lots that we are making through the process. In addition to the live trace graph we're doing, I can also look back at all of the history. I can come back here. I can go into our ops lots lot manager. I am still looking at laminator 124, and now I can see every single lot I have created or consumed in this process and click into it to generate its trace graph as well. Great. Now I'm going to jump over and start to do some Kanoa quality. Kanoa quality is actually one of our most versatile platforms. There's a lot of different things you can do with it. It can work completely automatically, just pulling in data that you need for SPC, or we could be creating operator forms for manual entry and kind of anywhere in between on the spectrum. So to start, I'm going to go configuration again. I'm going to look at my quality check sheets. And one of the things that we made was this Slitter SPC check. It's a very simple check. You can see I can edit it right here within the application, where it's going to go and grab a couple of data points that I've configured in our attributes and log these, I believe it is every 10 minutes, as according to how our trigger is set up here. And the results give us some really nice SPC data. I go to my check details. I'm going to open up my Slitter. I'm going to point that to the right asset so it knows what data to get, and run that for the week. There we go. You can see that I'm going through, querying all this data, getting my specifications back in here, and I can run my SPC engine on top of this. We got some Nelson rules and Western Electrics built in, but you can actually add in any other rule set you like. And yes, the data looks a little bit funny because this is when the virtual factory got moved from wherever it was before to over here for ProveIt.
Yeah, I have 2 questions. This is very impressive, Sam, by the way.
Thank you, Walker. Oh, man.
Number one, you did the whole plant, which just kind of blows my mind. Most people just do one.
Oh, right. Okay.
But 2 questions. So I need to expand on the virtual factory so everyone understands. So when he said he appended that sequence number, so the real-time data is running 2 hours at a time. We basically recorded the plant for 2 hours. It's 417 sequences, I think. So every 10 seconds, all the data in the unified namespace advances to 10 seconds in the future. 10 seconds in the future. Mm-hmm. Each sequence, there's a sequence ID. He concatenated that together with the work order so that he could essentially generate changes. Very impressive, kind of brilliant the way you did that. Number 2, there's 4 months of operational data in the database. So work orders, you name it, everything that's in the MES layer, there's 4 months of that data. So 2 hours of runtime, 4 hours of data in the database. My question for you, Sam, is this all generated from real time, or you're using the back end as well?
Oh, no, I scanned through that database that you have to get some things like maybe to make this material table and get like every single item number that you had. Okay. But no, all of this is data that is in Kanoa and in our Kanoa core database tracked from the UNS MQTT data.
Right, perfect. Man, damn, dude.
Thank you. Excellent. So I showed some SPC. Let's also show a more manual check, right? This is going to be something that's a lot more operator-driven. And for those operator-driven checks, I look at them in this active checklist. This is all of the outstanding quality checks in our system. We're not doing great today. We're missing a lot of checks because I am running a booth and not sitting here and doing fake checks for a fake factory. So I'm going to open this one up, though. Actually, I'm going to cancel that. I started that one already. I tried doing it on the way over and then was like, no, Sam, you need to pay attention to walking. So in this case, I'm going to enter 3 with values. You can see we have our little tolerance bars popping up there, and if I do a 4.5, it's going to flag it yellow. So we have a little bit of a control in there. We do a visual inspection, and I also do get a data point from a PLC in this one, so I'll take that measurement right now. I go ahead and submit that test, and now it is, once again, a part of the record. Coolest thing about Kanoa Quality is that all of these forms I'm showing you are designed entirely using this application, not the Ignition designer. The teams that you have that are making quality forms are most likely not the ones that are going in and programming in Python and working in Ignition, so we give you the interface to do that right here in our application. Here's all of our check sheets. Here's the one we just did. I'll turn it into edit mode. Make that a little bigger because it looks really difficult to read. I can open up this width here, and you can see I'm taking 3 measurements, then it's in millimeters, and here's where I'm setting my tolerances. We have a lot of different ways to set tolerances too. So the power of this is that now you can be creating these check sheets here in the application yourself, including your trigger rules. This one does get triggered every 70 minutes, so we get one every cycle of the virtual factory. And to make this a little bit more actionable, we actually went into our Press 104 asset operations screen. These are kind of like our home pages for like running a certain asset within Kanoa. And I'm using this dashboard editor that we have here to put in a widget telling me if I have any active missed quality checks that pertain to this line. I click this, it'll take me right into it. So with this, let's do a little recap. We have our virtual factory data. It's coming from the UNS. Kanoa MES is tracking all of it for every one of the lines, which is apparently impressive. We have configured this using tools with Kanoa out of the box, and everything that you've seen so far is a out-of-the-box feature of Kanoa. There's a tiny bit of programming that I did, right? I already talked about how when those items and work orders changed, I changed that code a little bit, and I wrote a little bit of code to make sure that we were getting the right inputs and output lots on the laminator, but that's it. Everything else that you have seen in this is drag and drop configuration that you do within Kanoa or mapping a couple of tags in your Ignition designer. And we need to tie this back to the ProveIt mission here. Again, this isn't just a product demo. We have to think about the value that we're providing in these solutions, right? So let's think of some of the problems we've solved. With Kanoa Ops, we've really focused on visibility, right? Logging production for each of these lines, capturing all of our counts and downtimes, recording items and work orders from a PLC. Future state, if I maybe didn't like that scheduling system we have, we could be using the Kanoa scheduler. In fact, if you noticed, I have a Dallas Kanoa scheduling in here because I have a whole duplication of the plant that I did with our asset duplication tool where I can run the Kanoa scheduler to dictate what it runs. On the Kanoa Trace side, we've implemented some compliance checks on the laminator, recording and linking all of our lots per run. Our next step for this would be to start to consume the product on this into the next stage of our operations. And on Kanoa Quality, we've implemented some automatic SPC data for the splitter, and we have some process control indicators going on in here. Future state, simply add more quality checks. These are all good, high-value MES applications, but we are at ICC, and ICC is a developer-focused conference, so we also wanted to show some development. And this is a really good opportunity to talk about why we love building on the Ignition platform, because it gets really hard for us to answer sometimes the question of, can Kanoa do something? Because between Kanoa and Ignition, we can seem to do almost anything that people seem to come up with, right? So this happens all the time with MES systems, ways that people manage their work orders, schedule those against lines. Maybe they have some magic KPI that doesn't make any sense outside of their one factory, but it needs to be a part of their MES. You're buying some commercial off-the-shelf software, it's not going to have that. We extend Kanoa to bring those functionalities into the platform. And we've seen people do a lot of cool stuff with this platform, right? We have a tablet screen on the left there that was being used to enter new lot data. We have extra production reports showing summaries in different ways to make things really familiar to the teams that are used to consuming a lot of this data. So the goal here is balance, right? We want to give you a lot of powerful MES tools out of the box, but let you use that flexibility of Ignition to extend and customize this as you need to. So let's go and develop some new solution. I'm going to go and looking at all this data that we're getting from the virtual factory. And one of the things that I start to notice is we're getting good data, right? We're getting our availability, our performance, our quality on each of these lines. But if I want to take this a step further and figure out what's wrong and how to fix it, I'm going to go and check out press 105 for today. And what is its main cause of downtime? Unassigned downtime. Very common MES problem, right? We might have a signal from the machine telling us if it is up or down, but it does not tell us why. So how can we add a little bit of context to this? And while we're at it, downtime is just one part of the equation. What about quality and performance? I see Walker coming up. Walker's mad at me.
All right, so I'm not mad at all. I'm not mad at all. All right, so a little more context about our plant, because very impressive you found this. All right, so the way that Comexi, so this is an Italian printing press. It's manufactured by Comexi. Costs about $25 million. It's all Siemens control. It's very state-of-the-art. But one of the limitations of the way that this press is managed is that state is either 1 or 0.
Yes.
It is only 1 or 0. Then there's a Beckhoff HMI on the machine that the operator has to select a reason from, okay? And however, it is not inhibited. The operator is not compelled to select the reason. And so they don't. So it's all the downtime is 1 or 0. And in our MES system, we compel them to select it. However, we decoupled the infrastructure from our manufacturing execution system, which is why you have unassigned. The fact that you found it and that you're obviously going to fix it, you're obviously going to fix it, is very, very impressive. But that's the reason it's unassigned. Comexi's limitation is it's either running or it's not running, and then they have a Beckhoff HMI that the operator is supposed to select from, I don't know, maybe 16 possible reasons. One of them's like a blade change or whatever, and the operator never selects it. They don't, because they're not forced to.
Boy, and I was worried that Walker was going to see this and be like, no, Sam, all that downtime's data there, you dummy. You just couldn't find it. But no, I was correct. So that's the downtime side. We also have ways to characterize the other OEE losses you're going to have, right? So we have quality, which is usually all of your different scrap reasons, and very important, scrap hits your bottom line, and performance or speed losses, which are kind of like the ghost in the machine most of the time, right? No one really quantifies their speed losses. It's just the reason I wasn't able to hit my numbers after we've quantified everything else. So we want to do all of that in Kanoa. We're going to use our states that we configured just when we did the asset configuration. So for example, as I built all of these assets, we go through, we make a list of all the master states that are available in the system, and we link the relevant ones to this piece of equipment. Again, we have more states coded for this. It just switches between 0 and 1 all of the time. I use similar techniques with our performance reason coding and our item states to be able to quantify our performance losses and our quality losses. And now let's get into a little bit more development, right? While Kanoa does have interfaces within the product that you could be manually doing this, if this is something these operators are going to be doing on the regular, let's try to make something a little more streamlined for them. I'm not going to code here in front of you all, but I'll show you some of the code that we did and how we got there. So a lot of times in Kanoa, when you want to do something more custom, we recommend you start with a screen that already has most of what you want. You override it or make a copy, and then start to make your own flavor. In this case, I'm going to make a run reconciliation screen. It's just like the run review that we saw, but for every run that happens, we're going to check to see if we have that availability, downtime, quality, and performance coded, and if we don't, we're going to tell the operator. To do that, I'm going to open up this little data binding, and let's show you what some of this Kanoa code looks like. So, as I'm going through and getting all of these different runs, I'm creating parameters dictionaries to kind of set the specifications for the data I want to get from Kanoa. And I'm going to run something like get asset state events. We do put in IntelliSense and documentation on our website. You can come and check out our booth later if you want me to kind of dive a little bit deeper into that. But I'm giving you all of the tools within here to go and figure out how to use these Kanoa functions to do the additional coding that we want to get done. I won't walk through all of that because, yeah, I am short on time. Why did we? But let's get into the result. Coming into here, I have my new run reconciliation page. I run this on press 104 today. I have coded a number of these already. I've started to add these blue or red checkboxes if we have or have not reconciled a run. And let's go and reconcile this one. Again, I did a little bit of tweaking to some existing screens in Kanoa to just make this a little bit easier for operators and a little bit more touch-friendly. I can come in here and code this to one of our other downtimes. I'm going to do that for both of these events. Notice I could be adding in a comment as well, but again, stressed for time a little bit. Wash a drum. And let's code all of our waste. Here's the different waste reasons that we have. I just made a little slider interface to make it easy to decide what your waste was. I do the same with our performance reasons over here. And we do a little confirmation page as well, looking through all that data you did, presenting to the operator all of the losses that they have coded, giving them some of the key KPIs that are essential to the run, and I finish our homework assignments and allow us to write something back to the UNS. I click this button. We're going to wrap up this full run data, including all of those loss reasons that we have categorized, and pump that back up to the UNS. Kind of like we typically would for an ERP, right? This is one of the things we've seen a couple of customers doing recently. It's really cool where, it's always been a traditional endpoint for these MES applications to bundle this data, send it up to an ERP. In this case, I'm just sending it to the UNS. The ERP can get it from there if and when they would like to. Okay, 2 more quick things I want to show. One was we need to be able to present this data back to the operator, and we want to make this really actionable. So let's build a dashboard together to show how some of that can work. I'm going to go into our dashboard editor. I'm going to name it ProveIt, and hope I haven't already done that for a demo when I was practicing. I'm going to put it in my operator dashboards for now and enable it, save it. I'm going to do this real quick, but most of these usually start by making an asset selector at the top, then a date range selector. I know that for this application, I'm going to do 2 utilization widgets. One pie chart here, another one underneath it, which I'm going to use slightly different parameters for. The first one's going to show total time, all losses, all non-production modes. This second one, I'm just going to focus on the losses. This widget editor that we have is a flexible tool. You can, as an integrator, be adding your own widgets into the application. I'm also going to add in my loss bar charts, which is just the bigger version of what we saw earlier. So now I'll throw this into view mode. Across all of the runs that we have done on Press 104 today, these are all of the loss categories that I have coded so far, maybe frantically right before this session after the keynote. And one last thing, I said I want to make this more actionable for the operators as well. Remember how earlier I showed that lot screen and said that that was a really configurable section of the application? Let's take a version of that report and put it right there in front of the Press 104 operators. I'll open this up. I'll switch their default dashboard to one I've already made, my losses and actions. Set that as my default. So now I still get my little notifications down here. If there's extra stuff I got to code, I see how my asset's running, and I get all of my losses in the same place that I can control my schedule or change what I am running on the line or something like that.
All right, so I have lots of questions, but let me start with, who here has deployed manufacturing execution before, like Core 4? Okay, so I just want to point something out here. Okay. Now, I did not see this presentation. I did not know what they were doing. I knew it was going to be amazing because it's Coope, right? So, and I've seen enough. All right, Sam, you get the credit, but you're the, this is 8 weeks. I cannot. I mean, it's fucking 8 weeks. They were given the plant 8 weeks ago. We did not, there was a date 8 weeks ago. 8 weeks ago today, they were given the plant. Anybody who has done MES before, this is all day long, 5 years ago, is $500,000 worth of work. It's $500,000 and it's a year for this plant to get all the way to this point. It's $250,000 best case scenario 5 years ago. And you did it all in 8 weeks.
Just because you gave me 8 weeks does not mean I had to got 8 full weeks to spend on this, Walker. Right. It's almost like you're setting us up for the next part of the ProveIt thing, where we start to show what it costs and how we got there.
Yeah, insanity.
I know that you kind of said we could be coy with our pricing. I decided not to. I did kind of break it up into a couple of different phases. A lot of our pricing is online. Everybody, you can go to Kanoa AI. All of our modules are up there. But so I said phase 1, let's assume you don't even have Ignition or MQTT. Let's buy those, get perspective, get the historian while we're at it. I'm going to throw Kanoa Ops on there. And that basic configuration of me kind of just setting up that first plant and being able to schedule everything, I did in a day. Then I went ahead and started to implement Kanoa tracing quality. Again, there's some licensing costs associated with that, but that basic setup about 2 days. Finally, that loss tracking, the more custom work I did that probably in about 40 hours of work over 2 weeks. So all in total, this is about $16,000 of Ignition licensing, 55 in Kanoa, because you're getting the full suite. But engineering services at $200 an hour, I did this for under 80 hours.
All right, so I don't understand how it works under the hood, but I'm gonna guess.
Yeah.
Okay, so the primary focus is as long as I have the in-feed, out-feed, state, and waste, I have those hooks on an asset.
Yep.
And I can define what an asset is, and I can put that asset in context of the business. Then I'm just somehow under the hood, you're mapping things quickly. How are you doing? Like, how is it technically under the hood?
How much time you got?
Yeah.
Here.
We'll go a little longer with you guys.
This is a good example of the UNS and the power of it.
Right.
The data's already there. A lot of times you'll go into a company to connect an MES system, but you don't have the data. You don't have the data. They have specific requirements for KPIs, and you can't generate it. There's disconnects in there. So the fact that you've already got the UNS, you've got the data in there, it's a very, very simple, drag to connect. And again, as I said here, most of the time here, we would be saying, what's your schedule? And they'll say, we've got a schedule. And I say, let me guess, it's in Excel, isn't it? Yeah. They're like, yes. They're like, we've got a scheduling solution. It contextualizes the data. If you keep it in an Excel spreadsheet, we don't have that one. The other one is connecting to an ERP system to get production orders. And we're saying, like, we can use web dev. We're using all standard Ignition components to connect the systems. They'll say, yes, we could, but we don't have that in SAP or whatever. We'll give you a flat file. And again, you say, so the start of your digital transformation journey is going to be us passing a flat file. Okay, no, we can do that.
Which by the way, is how we did the molding machine that we told you about when we saved that project. It was a flat file.
So they're reading a flat file. Yes. But so those are the things, those are things that actually take time if you have the data. This is quick. This is quick for us. Everything that we're showing you is built because we go in every time to implement an MES. And in fact, the screens that he's showing you, they should look familiar. Everything in there is an Ignition component.
Thank you, Jason.
Except for Chris Taylor's BIJC's calendar component,
and
which we use for all of our scheduling and our shifts. But we made a conscious decision to do that. We have one component, which is a React trace node chart, because there's no way of showing that in Ignition. But what we didn't want to do is build complex components that limit you in terms of what you can do. So you can go, this is in Kanoa app. You get this part of the product, but you can see exactly, he showed you the code in there. You can see how we built it. Now you can take it, you can override it, you can add to it. If you want to put steps in there, you want to go and check inventory before an operator can start a production run. If you want to put on a checklist, you can do it. And that's how we can give you an MES solution that you don't have to build from scratch, and you don't buy it as an off-the-shelf solution which paints you into a corner.
Yeah, I mean, you just hooked into the namespace, grabbed the events that you needed to. I mean, it's incredibly elegant. Incredibly elegant. Can you show the pricing piece again?
Yeah, sure. Look at me. See, I want to get into code, and you're like, no, show me the dollars. Yeah.
I mean, the problem you solved was the facility needs
an MES,
a manufacturing execution system, which is ridiculous. That's the problem most people are solving is I need to calculate OEE, or I need to Pareto top 10 downtime reasons by hour across the business. It's not. I mean, first off, I say all the time, manufacturing execution is not a thing. It's a abstraction. It's core 4, work order, schedule, OEE, downtime tracking. And then it's plus, track and trace, quality. I mean, you did SPC, you did quality management, you did track and trace, you did the core 4, and you did the whole fucking plant. I mean, it's crazy, dude.
Thank you.
It's crazy. I mean, seriously, it's crazy.
And actually, and I do kind of want to maybe show off a little bit more then. I then also went into our asset configuration. Right? Ops here, assets. I clicked on Dallas, and I hit duplicate. I made an entire copy of it called Kanoa Scheduling, And I can go in here right now and be dragging and dropping work orders from our different presses onto this schedule. So if we didn't want to use the items and the work orders that are getting populated from the PLCs, I could be doing that all from
So
here.
I had seen, I was familiar with your software, but I had not seen anything you had done with the plant.
Well, we don't talk that often.
Yeah, I had not seen any of it. I mean, legitimately, you had access for 8 weeks. That's it.
Yeah.
They did not have access to this plant before 8 weeks ago. Who here has anybody built a full plant manufacturing execution system? Like full plant, start to finish. Have you ever built one like this in 8 weeks? Yeah. In 8 weeks. Yeah, I mean, this was, by the way, I'm going to tell you, to be honest with you, when we did this plant, I did it. Okay, I was the lead engineer for the first 18 months in 2018. So this is how limited the technology was in 2018 when we started. It took, obviously there were IT delays. So if you take the IT delays out, I'm very fast at MES. It took me 9 months to do the whole plant. If you take out the IT delays. And about 180,000. And I was proud of 9 months and 180,000, and I gave them a deal. They spent $500,000 over a year and a half.
Sure.
But it was 9 months, 180,000, and we did not do quality management. So take everything else they did here, we did. We did not do quality management. We did not do
SPC.
SPC.
Yeah.
Wow, incredible. Can we put the question thingy up? Because I'm sure people are going to have questions.
I'd be happy to talk about. Actually, Jason, do you want to take the database?
Sure.
Yeah, go for it.
Sure.
What
was the question? Just talk about it. Is that a question? Actually, I'm happy to talk about it. I'm proud about it. At the end of the day, a system is as good as its foundation. And the heart of this is data. So we have a third form normalized database pattern. Now, one of the things that we require is we use SQL Server. We are not database agnostic. We're not doing Postgres or MySQL. We did actually create a MySQL version, but we leverage the power of SQL. So stored procedures, scalar, table functions, views, that's it. Because what does that do? It makes it incredibly fast, incredibly powerful for analytics. You're not sitting there waiting for minutes for the system to churn to get data. It's a third form normalized. It's the smallest size. We don't have to aggregate tables. You get primary foreign key constraints in there, which means you don't get orphan records. So it's a proper database design. It's open. Again, you can connect Power BI to it. You can call our system functions. You can put web service or RESTful endpoints on it.
So I am in docs.kanoa.ai. If you want to learn even more about the database, it's right here. So, this is just kind of, if you can go online, you can download our module, you can run it in 2-hour trial in Ignition, and when you do that, we set up this schema anyways, so we just kind of make it apparent. We go through, we describe a lot of it right here, we keep this up to date. Again, we're very proud of it. It's a really elegant database. A lot of the power of the Kanoa application really is in this layer.
There is a lot to it, but at the end of the day, it gives us immense flexibility. So, because we're using asset IDs for all of our assets, one of the things he didn't show here is that you create your equipment hierarchy. We can be ISA 95 inspired, not required. Because we found here, you go to companies and saying, well, we want regions. Yeah. We want divisions.
Business units.
I want subcells, yeah.
Exactly. So
I don't want it to be a parameter. I want it to be hierarchical.
Yeah. I want to have its own icon. Yeah.
So you can build it however you want. It's incredibly flexible. You can also rename it. You don't have to get it right the first time round.
Yes.
You can have it. It can be in production. If you suddenly say, I want to rename this from line 1 to line 1A.
So each node is an object that can be, the relationship can be reestablished, tied to a different object.
In this tree component, Sam can drag it. He could drag an asset from one place to another, and then we do that with all the other things. You do not lose your data.
Press 105 is in the laminating area now.
You probably don't want to do that. And that was something that was important for us. A lot of times when you're starting down this road, you don't know what you don't know, but you don't want to be fixed and then forced and say, well, we're going to have to stick with it.
Obviously, I'm not surprised. What I'm surprised is that you did it, that you got this far in 8 weeks. I mean, it's just.
Well, we had Kanoa MES before 8 weeks ago. We didn't start from scratch, but we took it to roll it out.
But even if I gave you the UNS, obviously, granted, there is a manufacturing execution system there. There is enterprise site area line cell tables. There is state history. Those things exist. Mm-hmm. They had access to that in the MES Lite schema. But even so, the fact that you were able to build full-blown MES in 8 weeks for the entire facility is ridiculous. It's absurd. We'll answer this first one. We put the questions up there. We won't answer that first. Let's answer that. Let's do that as the last question. Why would you use Kanoa over Cepasoft? Obviously, thank you guys for asking the obvious question, which I, by the way, will answer wholeheartedly, whole-throated. You guys will probably be a little more delicate in response. I don't blame you. But let's do batch functionality. Any plans for batch support?
Okay. So we do some batch controls in Kanoa today. So what a lot of customers that have some batch processes are doing actually is we have a really, I didn't show it at all today, we have a work order metadata system where you can attach like unlimited metadata to any work order. So if you have a lot of information about your batch and your recipe that you want to get down to a PLC or to an operator, you attach it as metadata.
But you could extend, say I wanted to use this in life sciences and I wanted to extend batch functionality, I could do that.
Yes,
right?
you absolutely
You just aren't going to build in. And by the way, that's smart because there's a reason why batch solutions are batch specific and not, they're not agnostic.
It's a very specific. It's more about process control. MES is more about execution and dispatching. We have plans for recipe management, which is different, and that comes from our semiconductor experience in here, where all of the OEM equipment, they've already got recipe editors on them, but what we can do is we can upload it. We can store it as a blob. You can version control once you've process qualified that piece of equipment. Every time a new production order is started on that machine, as an MES, we'll download. That's what you do in the semiconductors. We don't need to have it. It makes it simple. We're not building recipe editors for every single piece of equipment. That's done on there, but process qualification by a process engineer says this is now the golden recipe, and we overwrite any changes made by maintenance or night shift every time we run the next wafer, and that's something we will be adding. Mm-hmm.
And I know you showed it in the beginning, but what form does Kanoa take? The form is one is container component, database backend, but what form does this solution take?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So really we're a module at the end of the day. You go to Kanoa.ai, there is a download Kanoa button right here. We will run a 2-hour trial, but you go through, you just go into the regular install module.
It's an MODL file.
Yes.
It's a .modl file from the Ignition SDK.
Exactly. We have some documentation on our website, and I have a couple of YouTube videos up to kind of show you the setup, but you set up the Kanoa core database connector, you set up your Kanoa tag provider, you install the module, and it will set up the database, install all the projects, get the tag providers going, get everything.
Is the pricing perpetual?
So the price, so we are big fans of Ignition and copy them at every opportunity. So that is a one-time unlimited license. And I saw another question pop up about annual support. We do a 20% annual support on top of your licensing to get you access to upgrades and priority support as well.
We're going to do that. Workflow is not clear. We'll do that in a couple of minutes. Oh, we have 8 minutes. So if you, this is a good question for Mario. If you change a downtime event from unplanned to planned, does it recalculate OEE automatically?
Let's find out.
Yes. Oh, sorry.
Actually, I know the answer is yes. I wouldn't have said that if I didn't know the answer was yes, Jason.
And again, this is about the database.
What event drives that?
It's not, there isn't one.
Okay. A recalculation.
So you're calculating on demand.
Yes.
We don't even have to recalculate. Somebody pulls up screen, we go and get the data. Now, there were times before when we were trying to get the performance and we created aggregate tables. When you've got a correctly designed database, you don't need to aggregate anymore. All of our tables are raw because that was the biggest challenge, that we had these tables, analysis was slow, we would have a job that would run, it would create an aggregate table, store it somewhere else, and then someone comes in, they code a downtime event, or they change, oh, we weren't running this product, or this production order, we're running this one, or they change a shift, or we change the crew size. Every time that happened, you had to have a job go in and say, find the records, delete those records, and rebuild them. And you'd have sleepless nights thinking, did I miss a record? Did I put in duplicate records? we have a database expert. He's a guy in
PTSD. You're bringing up PTSD.
Yeah, exactly. So when we came in here and was saying, like, how are we going to build this here with aggregate tables, he said, you don't have to. And that's how we designed it in here. So it's raw tables. When you call analysis, you call a stored procedure. You can see, there's nothing hidden. You can look in our stored procedure. You can see our tables, our joins. You can see the indexes on there. And quite frankly, what it means is that if you ever find that something's not performant for you, you can call us. We'll look into it. But at the same time, you can also fix it if you know how. You're not hidden by it. Calculating OEE. OEE is a standard. So there should be no argument about how you calculate it. But every company has its own version of OEE.
Hell, there are plants within companies that have different calculations.
So we have a table function in SQL that's called calculate OEE. And that, you can look inside. You pass in all the data from the row, the product, the standard rates, the counts, and we return the value. You can extend that. You can customize that for yourself. Every screen we show where we've got OEE is on there.
Yep. Hey, do you know of anybody that's validated Kanoa under 21 CFR Part 11?
Not yet, but we have some exciting news around that, which is that in our upcoming release, particularly around Kanoa quality, we are going to do the last step that we know we need for it, which is to have proper version controlling and release of our quality forms. And our plan is to release a validation guide along with it to say, this is how we checked that this was 21 CFR Part 11 compliant, now this is how you can do it.
We actually have done it. We just haven't released the software yet.
Yeah. Yes. What application outside of batch? Well, let's answer this continuous one first. Do you have continuous industry customers, or is it mostly discrete manufacturing? Oh, by the way, Jason's claim to fame was manufacturing execution in the steel industry. That was one of his
mining.
Big. Yep. Schnitzer Steel was where the world came to know him when he did Schnitzer. So, which is continuous. So but do you care to share continuous industries, or is it all discrete so far?
No, we've done continuous, food and beverage, automotive. Oh goodness, sprinklers, everything. So yeah, the mining industry, they don't do production orders, and it's continuous. And yeah, everything we built can be used. We've also used it for batch. So for chemical plants, resin reactors. Yeah, we've covered the gamut.
I might encourage you to check out our case study with inductive automation on Our Planet Earth, where they are a recycling company and plastic extruder and food-grade plastic manufacturer. So they cover a lot of different types of processes within that one plant.
So is this considered an integrator solution like what they talked about, or is this more of a module? I mean, it is a module, but do you consider it an integrator solution or a module?
Let's talk about that. That is important. So we are not integrator in the Ignition program. We are a part of the what they're called the new technology ecosystem. We are a gold provider in that. We do sell some engineering services and consulting to help people get set up with this, but no, this is available for other people to buy. We have a number of systems integrators inside of our partnership program
already. Do you have a formal program with integrators?
We do, yeah, exactly. So we're still working on kind of doing like trainings and certifications, but yes, you can sign up and get qualified and kind of get onto that site, and we are happy to work with other integrators to get this going.
Good question here that just came in. How is OEE calculations performance? Well, I already going to know the answer because this was one of Jason's big complaints. If you're going to calculate OEE over 6 months, it shouldn't fucking take an hour and a half for that calculation to run, so I'm sure it's going to be performant. But how is OEE calculations over a very long window, say 6 months, how performant is it?
Yeah, it's good. I don't have a good run review to show here because we have literally 24 runs every single day because I'm doing it every hour, so it'd be a bit of a crunch. I'll do it. Let's see what happens. I'll do it at least
It's a matter of seconds.
I'm going to run it.
Otherwise, Jason wouldn't have put his name on it, I can tell you that. But the MS SQL Express?
Yes, they'll work on SQL Express. Obviously, we can use Microsoft SQL Developer Edition, which is the full-blown one. A lot of times here, why SQL Server? We could have gone with a number of them. It's quite frankly because 95%, maybe 99, maybe 100% of our clients are using SQL anyway. That's it. We've had a couple that have had MySQL and they've grumbled a bit, but they've been okay. So if you buy a license, you'll have to buy a separate license for SQL Server if you're implementing for a company that doesn't have a SQL Server. But you can get a 5-cal pack on a SQL for $6,800. And quite frankly, it's worth it.
Yeah. When upgrading the module, what's the impact to overrides placed on views?
Yeah, that's a great question. So the way that we have our application structured is we have 3 projects, at least 3 that we deploy by default. The one in the middle is Kanoa App, and that's where all of our content is. And anytime we do an upgrade, we tell you don't touch that because that is the part of this that we may update. And then in our release notes, we're going to talk about any specific screens or functions that we changed. Our release notes are important. We usually flag anything that we think might particularly impact integrators. So if you've done a lot of updates to the run control screen and you see in our latest version we have made changes to the run control screen, you're probably going to want to check that out.
I want to answer that question.
The integrator one? Let me do this first one and then you. So, because this is a philosophical. How fast will an Ignition Gold certified system integrator get up and running? Okay.
I'm not Ignition certified.
Yeah. So that is a function. This is an important lesson.
Should be.
Doing manufacturing execution is not the same as building a SCADA system.
Yes.
Okay, and I say this all the time. No offense to anybody who builds SCADA, but SCADA is SCADA is SCADA. It's always the same. It's always supervisory control and data acquisition. It is never different. It's not. In the end, you could teach a monkey to build a SCADA system. Not that that the engineers who build SCADA systems aren't talented. They are, but it's always the same. What you have to understand is that manufacturing execution is never the same. There are no 2 MES systems that are alike. Manufacturing execution is a representation. MES, the L3, is where the business is differentiated. It is where they gain their market advantage. The MES system is a reflection of their market advantage. So by default, they are all different. So if you are experienced in manufacturing execution and understand that everything starts in the core 4 and then you kind of map based on what's in L3, then it seems to me that this would be a short learning curve.
Yes.
But if you're someone who specializes in SCADA and you're new to MES, this will be an advantage.
Yeah.
There's going to be an advantage, but that learning curve wouldn't be Kanoa in that scenario. It's going to be MES, learning MES.
It's a big thing, and actually why we appreciate kind of a lot of the MES boot camps and things like that you're doing. It's this huge knowledge gap in the industry of what to do in that spot. And it's why we frankly still do the consulting services that we do today.
MES
because there's
is
not
hard.
enough out there. Yeah.
Don't ever let anyone tell you manufacturing execution is easy. It is hard. It is very, very difficult. That's why it's hard to find companies that are really, really good at it. Lots of people do it. Not a lot of people do it very, very well. So go ahead and.
So the question is, does Kanoa how does pricing fluctuate by scale? As Sam mentioned, we follow the Ignition model, their business model, because it blew our minds when it first came out, that it's unlimited licensing, unlimited tags. And that was a game changer of everything. How do you drive quality within an organization and who's responsible? Everyone. And when you've got restrictive licensing, and I had it for companies that spent millions of dollars on SAP, but they couldn't give me access to the data in there because they didn't buy enough licenses. So we're the same. We're unlimited licensing by server. So what does that mean? And there was another question which was about
by gateway.
By gateway.
Yes.
So not by site, by gateway.
When he says server, he means by gateway.
By gateway server, yeah. So another question was about can you put it in the cloud? Yes, and we actually recommend it. ERP's in the cloud. So it's entirely up to you, the client. You can stick an Ignition gateway in a container on a VM up in the cloud, and you can run it for your entire enterprise. And we actually have companies that have got 8 sites, 400 assets, all running from one system. And that's where the architecture lies. We highly recommend MQTT. Even if it's on a site server, we still say use it because of the store forward capability, limiting the bandwidth usage. It's just, why wouldn't you? It makes no sense. And a lot of companies will put an edge device at a site. A lot of people are actually putting edge devices in control panels because, again, it cuts out any sort of network disturbance. Because we're doing that, you can run hundreds of assets on a single gateway. So if you choose to, single gateway, doesn't matter how many assets, doesn't matter how many sites, it's one license, which was 25 or something.
For ops, yeah.
1,000. A lot of companies, though, will also make the decision that saying, no, we're going to put a gateway at each site. And they do that for a number of reasons. They want to be able to take one down and do a patch update. They've got to schedule security patch updates, upgrades on there. So again, it's entirely up to how you want to implement it.
And just so we're clear again, the module itself is just all in is what?
So again, if you bought all things, the ops, trace, quality, 55.
25?
55, sorry.
55,
Yes.
all right. All in 55 per gateway.
Yes.
Okay, that's a steal. Your
And-
module will recover automatically after unexpected module or gateway crashes upon restart? I'm assuming...
It just doesn't crash.
Well, no, if a gateway crashes, it restarts exactly the same as
Yeah,
ignition.
it's totally fine. Yeah.
Yep. And again, if you've got MQTT, when it comes up, broker reconnects, here's the data that you missed, and here's the current value.
And Sam, obviously you'll want to answer, how strict are the requirements on the data modeling?
Not really. I mean, again, like I was able to walk into this UNS pretty blind and just kind of grab the points that seemed to make the most sense to me. And again, like kind of the part of the power is, so for example, our in-feed counter. It's you attach it to a specific tag in Ignition. We have a change script on that tag that does the proper calls to commit that count value into Kanoa. You don't like the way that works, you can write your own version of that script that still calls the proper get count event functions. People have been doing that for things like we can mark like first pass or reworked input as in feed and mark that differently in Kanoa. You might want to change your script based on the conditions that you see at the plant to do that.
Awesome. Free 2-hour license with Ignition?
Yes. Yep, you can download this from our, actually, this also kind of ties back to the question around the integrator onboarding, right? So you can go on our website, download this, run it in 2-hour trial. I also have a series of YouTube videos up there that will take you from installation all the way through a full configuration of a simulated asset. I think it's about 35 minutes long, and you can learn it all in that time.
So multi-language support will obviously be a yes because that happens in the Ignition platform and it extends into your module.
Since we're not using any custom components, it becomes really easy to do that. So we have a number of languages that come out of the box with Kanoa, and then you just use the Ignition Translation Manager to add more terms or languages.
Multiple site MES from a single cloud gateway?
Yes.
I think we covered that.
Recommended.
To Walker, from the 9 months, does that include building the UNS? Yes. And we did it iteratively. What Jason talked about, part of the reason Jason and I are so synergistic is back when people weren't approaching digital transformation with agility, they were trying to do waterfall management, a fixed bid. We both agreed that it could not be achieved that way, this is an iterative process. It's something you build upon because you're learning throughout the process. So you never know where you're going to end up, but you do know where you're starting. And so you should take small, he says quick wins, it's small chunks. You want to deliver something every 2 weeks. You want to deliver something every 2 weeks and build. Deliver something 2 weeks and build. So yes, the UNS I did a POC in 12 weeks. That 9 months includes the 12-week proof of concept, which I have done the case study in Mastermind a couple different times.
Okay. I'm going to pick the bottom one. Are upgrades included in maintenance? Yes, they are. And it's actually something I wanted to mention here is that at Kanoa, we're not constantly looking for the next big thing. Not for an announcement at ICC or wherever to say this is 2.0, this is 3.0, this is what we're delivering. We are much more concerned with making what we already have provided better. So we have one module. The module was actually 3, the ops, trace, and quality, and it just made sense to put it together, and then you can sort of license the parts individually. We're constantly improving it. As I say, we use it. We use it for client implementations. Every time we go to a client, we're looking here and there's customization. We said, you know what? That makes sense to be in the product. Oh, you want to support multiple work orders on a single production run? Absolutely. We can do that. So you're constantly going to get those improvements with every release. And what we also do is we guarantee backwards compatibility. So you start building today on this in here, it's not going to go away, even if we do a 2.0. So 8.3's come out. We already have our application works on there. We've got a different number, and the only difference is because when we do the installation, the file structure's changed in the back end. But our system functions, our database schema, our views is all identical between 8.1 and 8.3.
Hey, Walker, let's do the last question of the Kanoa over Sepasoft.
Yeah. Well, actually, let's do the AI.
Well, for the AI, come by our booth. We do have a cool demo set up there showing some AI plugins that we've been co-developing with Cedar Tech, actually. It's really cool. You should come by and check it out.
He didn't show you. We've actually got AI chat agents built in as well. But never
and do you want to answer the Sepasoft? I'm going to answer it, but do you guys want to answer the Kanoa versus Sepasoft?
I definitely want to hear you.
I want to hear.
All right, I'm happy to answer it, okay? So I don't use Sepasoft's modules. I used it for a very long time. I don't use them anymore. I moved beyond Sepasoft. Not that they don't make good modules. In fact, I think my favorite module is the Business Connector. I think the Business Connector is exceptional. I think Sepasoft did an excellent job with the SAP Business Connector. You can map the BAPI directly into a unified namespace. I love it. I think you should answer that question for yourself when you watch the Sepasoft presentation, because in the Sepasoft presentation, they're going to show a new direction for the company.
Yeah.
So I think the ultimate answer to that is that Sepasoft and Kanoa won't really be an apples to apples comparison. I think Sepasoft's going in a different direction. I think they're going in the right direction, and when you look at Kanoa, for me, when someone comes to me and says, what should I look at for MES in Ignition, there's really going to be only two answers. There's either going to be build it yourself from scratch or start with Kanoa. And it's going to be pretty hard to justify building it yourself because you're not going to do it in 8 weeks, that's for sure.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that is, I can tell you, for those of you who have worked in MES, that I've never seen any. I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised at all. But I mean, it is an MES platform built in Ignition by who I consider, the greatest MES engineer that I've ever met in my entire career. So
I think I'm blushing here.
It turns out that way. So,
and to me.
I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you, Walker.
Seriously, you guys
yeah.
slayed it.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks.
Hey,
Awesome.
I appreciate
Let's
it.
give them a big hand.
So
Thank you.
much.
Thank
Awesome
you.
job. Really appreciate it.
Hey, Sam.
Thanks.
Nice work.
Thanks, man. You too.
Nice
That was a lot
work.
of fun.